welcome to Locals Who Lead, a series from XOXA Boise. I am your host, Paige McKinney with Homefound, and today we are joined by Amanda Gambill, the author, advocate, lover of cheese, and yogi. We are going to get to know Amanda today, all of the things to love about her, and we're going to kick it off kind of talking about Amanda, and then we'll get into core questions about what she does in the community and what makes her so special.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Paige.
Yes.
I'm really excited to be here. Who am I? That's a great question, and I asked my therapist that. No, but I am an author. I'm a romance author. I write rom-coms. I have 3 books out. My most popular one is Honestly, I'm Totally Faking It. It's a grumpy sunshine, fake dating, spicy rom-com. So if y'all are looking for a summer read, that might be something you should pick up and read by the pool. But I also, like you said, I'm a lover of cheese, team manchego, but really I don't discriminate. So, but I'm, really active in the community. Like you said, I'm a yogi. I go to yoga almost every single day at Portal, which is a Portal wellness community. It's in the bench. I'm an advocate. I'm really involved with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. They have some events here that I get involved in with the Light the Night. And then, like I said, I'm an author, but I've been a writer my whole life. I'm a former journalist. I used to run an e-com digital marketing company with my late partner. And before that, I worked in corporate PR. So lots of writing, lots of things.
Not a big deal at all.
I'm really humble. So
You are, actually. I think you need to be less open. So,
okay.
that's amazing. Amanda is so cool. Honestly, probably the coolest person that I know. What is something you're loving and learning about yourself right now?
This is a really hard question. Something I've really been into recently is really just kind of going back to the fundamentals of the creative process. I think as a creative, especially that being like a full-time job and how you make money, it's really easy to shift your mindset into making this kind of a grind and a hustle and get kind of burned out, and it stops being this fun creative process. So part of that is this summer I'm really focused on going deep in the creative process. Like I said, looking at the fundamentals. Part of that is going through The Artist's Way by Julie Cameron. It's a 12-week kind of series, course, book. If you're a creative, you've probably heard of it. I've really been into that and going through that process. This week specifically, I'm going through a media deprivation.
Oh, wow.
So I don't get to read books. I'm not doing social media. I've made it even harder, and I'm only listening to music with no lyrics. So
What?
yeah, so I'm just with my thoughts.
Wow.
And I think the goal is I get so bored that I write an entire book in a week. So we will see.
Wow, if everyone could do that when they were bored. Also, it is so like you to say, this is already really hard. I'm going to say no music and not listen to lyrics. That's wild.
Yeah, like I said, I enjoy going deep in a process. And so I'm really embracing this. Another example of how I'm going deep is I'm going through the Spark Joy method by Marie Kondo. She wrote the life-changing magic of tidying up, and then she wrote Spark Joy. And that's where you go through your entire home. You touch everything you own, and you decide, does it spark joy? And it sounds, it's more than just like flipping through your closet and like getting rid of some cruddy shirts.
Totally.
So I've been going through that process very intensely as well. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself.
Okay, if your life had chapters, what would the title of this one be?
Okay, well, one, I think this question is really unfair for a writer.
Exactly why I'm supposed to have a couple drafts.
And I don't title my chapters, so it's just chapter 32. But no, I thought about this, and New Moon, who dis? But in all honesty, I was thinking maybe something like reinvention or regrowth. I feel like I've already been through a period of growth. I think my entire life I've been striving for personal growth. You can get addicted to personal growth, actually. And I think I've kind of done some of those fundamentals, and now I'm in a process of regrowth, figuring out, like I said, going deeper and seeing how can I grow more, and is this actually in alignment with what I'm doing and how I feel, and then reinvention. So something in those veins. I've just been through quite a few life changes recently, and I think reinvention and just embracing that fully, and just something like a chapter 2 situation. So yeah.
Oh, I love that answer. Okay. Was there a moment when you realized, I think this is what I'm meant to be doing?
Yes. Okay. So I kind of always love telling the stories. It feels so like, I don't don't know, ethereal or something. But like I said, I used to work in a pretty intense corporate environment. I used to work at one of the largest independently owned PR agency in the Southeast. So we were a pretty big deal. I worked really, really hard. At one point, I think I was working like 90 hours a week. I wasn't eating, truthfully. Like I was skipping meals. I was too busy. I was the type of person I was sending emails at 2 a.m. Like I was not in a good place. I loved it, and like I said, I go too intense too fast sometimes. But at a certain point, I had reached a point where I was like, this is not serving me anymore. This is burning me out. So I decided to quit and start a company with my partner. And but I needed about a month to just recalibrate and figure out what am I doing with my life. And so during that time, we went to the beach. We went to Fort Lauderdale, and we were just sitting there. And I read an entire book in a day. It was a fiction book, My Oxford Year by Julia Whalen. And I probably hadn't read a fiction book in over 10 years at that point.
Oh, wow.
And then I remember just sitting and staring at the ocean and being like, I have to write a book. I absolutely have to write a book. Like it was something like my soul was like, you've got to do this. So I went home and I wrote a book in a month. It was bad, don't worry. But I got that out. And then I was like, wow, I just did this. And now I actually want to do this. This needs to happen. And so that was really the beginning for me. And now I'm here.
I'm so curious. If you've loved reading your whole life, like what do you think was keeping you from that ever crossing your mind before?
Well, I always wanted to be an author. That was my dream job, but I didn't think that was possible. I grew up in a pretty intense, kind of traditional Southern sort of lifestyle. I'm from Tennessee, from a small town that no one's heard of. And I didn't think that was a possibility. Like growing up in a low income house where dreams are not accessible, how can you be an author? Like that's crazy. You get a job and you make money. So it was just something that I never once actually considered that could be a part of my reality.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you are now. Okay, what do people thank you for the most? I love this question.
This question was honestly the hardest.
It's really hard.
I think. So I was trying to think about what do my readers think? I'm so fortunate that I have direct relationships with my readers. I get messages every day on Instagram from people who've read my book from all over the world. And that feeling is always thrilling. That'll never go away. So I was trying to reflect on what has been the consistent message I've received. And I think what is so amazing and rewarding, and I'm so honored to always hear this consistently, is that people thank me for letting them feel seen. People get to see a part of themselves in it, and I think that's really awesome, and I'm always so grateful that people thank me for that.
Women empowerment. Is there a lesson that life keeps teaching you?
Yeah, I think something that I really, really try to embrace, particularly over the past couple of years, is this idea of impermanence and everything that we experience. This moment right now is impermanent. I can never come back to this moment. We're living it right now. So I think just embracing the idea of impermanence forces you to be in the present. You don't want to think about the past, you want to think about the future. You can't actually control either of those things. And I think that life has really been kind of pounding that pretty hard in my head of it is impermanent, so just relish while you can.
Totally. When you look back, what moment felt hard then, but now feels like a turning point?
Okay, this was a great question. Like I said, I have 3 books out. My first book I put out there, my goal was one person I didn't know to read it. And actually more than one person read it and that I didn't know, and it actually became a thing where I was like, wow, this could be a thing. Then I wrote my second book and I was really excited about it. The launch was delayed. It was immediately pirated. Someone was selling it for 46 cents on the internet. The first review I got was a 1-star review. They didn't even finish it. Within that same week, someone had tagged me, which don't tag authors in your negative feedback, please. Reviews are for readers. I don't read reviews anymore. Unfortunately, I had to learn that lesson pretty hard. But someone had tagged me. I was like, does anyone really read this stuff? So it was a really rough launch. I was not in a good place. And when you put a book out, that's a piece of your soul.
100%. That's so vulnerable.
And I was already really nervous about it. And you have that classic, I think any artist can maybe relate to this, of your sophomore slump. Every second album from a band is usually not as good. And so I had reached a moment where I remember standing in my living room crying and talking to my partner and was like, I'm gonna quit. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. It just reinvigorated me. I wrote a third book and that one like popped off. And it's probably the most authentic way like each single book I wrote more and more for myself. And I think I had to go through that period of like, you will never write a book that everyone likes. Like look up any book you like. There's not straight 5 stars. And when you do find people who resonate with it, it's absolutely incredible. That same book that I've thought about publishing, I have many readers who love it.
Now we're gonna get into the core questions as if those were not already deep and so good. Okay, so we talked a little bit about that moment that made you realize like what makes you want to do this, but let's talk about like what called you towards your work and your passion and the path that you're on.
I did grow up in a very, very traditional like Southern household. My dad is a farmer, my mom's a homemaker. Like we didn't question things. I just did it. I didn't come from a place of privilege, and I didn't get to have a lot of life experiences growing up. And so for me, books have I consider books saving my life. Reading has given me life. I think as a child, not being able to experience a lot of things, whether because we just simply didn't do that or because we couldn't afford it. Because at that time, you're reading like either children's books or you're reading the stuff that they force you to read in school. And those things are valid and they have their own, that's great. That's good experiences. You can get something from that. But to read a book about a girl or, a teenager and like reading feelings, I think was really incredible to me. And I'll never forget reading that and like feeling seen and realizing this is powerful. Like words and reading and books is so powerful. It's one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself, for personal growth, for understanding others, to like experiencing new things.
What experiences, people, or places have shaped you the most?
I think it's probably a combo of all three. I think I try to experience new things, new people, and new places. Growing up in the South, that is going to shape you no matter what, even if you get out of the South. Like that's 100%. And I grew up survived though. Working in a corporate environment, like at one point, we weren't even allowed to wear jeans except on Fridays, which it was more intense than that. But that's my fun example.
Yeah.
Because wow. And we had to track all of our time within 15 minutes. Anything I did within 15-minute increments, I had to track my time at all times because we bill. So those things have shaped me to make me kind of get closer to the path that made sense for me. I think it's easy to just fall in what you're given and just stay there. Stay that way and stay comfortable. So I would say those have shaped me to kind of get out of those things. And then on a more personal level, my partner of 14 years, shortly after he turned 30, was unexpectedly diagnosed with an extremely rare, aggressive form of leukemia. And so he was sick, incredibly sick for 9 months. We basically lived in the hospital. I was his full-time caregiver. And then unfortunately, he passed away about a year ago. So that has really kind of going back to that embracing impermanence and living in the present and just soaking up as much as you can when you can. I love that.
Okay. What's something about the way that you show up that you're most proud of?
So I think my answer is that I show up. I have encountered a lot of people in my life in so many different phases of my life where the default is I've never done that, so why should I? I'm afraid to do that, so I won't. It's just so easy to give up. It's so easy to just stay on the same path and not even question if what you're doing is in alignment with yourself and like your values and your beliefs. And I think for me, having experienced some incredibly hard, like life-changing events, to not be able to approach life with fear and wanting to try new things and just keep showing up and not give up. Like when my partner died, I could have given up. I could still be in bed right now. But just like consistently showing up and not letting life make you stop.
Wow. Who or what in our community brings you joy, inspiration, and hope?
So I love Boise. I chose to live in Boise by choice. I didn't move here for a job. My partner and I moved here. We moved across the country from Nashville in a U-Haul of all our stuff just because we came here for 5 days and visited it and loved it. And so I think Boise in general, just the vibe, I think there's a lot of people who are creative here. They're genuine, they're passionate. So I think just the artist community in general, the nature is outrageous to me.
Insane.
I will never not stop and stare at the mountains. So I've lived here 5 years. I still am that girl that I'm gonna take in the foothills. So the nature here and just the accessibility is absolutely incredible.
Totally.
And that gives me hope. I think nature in general.
And the slow life, it's like such slow living here.
Yeah.
In such a nice way. Like you, I also moved from a big, very fast city. And it is at first like almost overwhelming boredom, going from a fast life and being busy and not in touch with your emotions or feelings, and then having to be forced into a slow lifestyle.
Yeah.
But it's such a like refreshing thing once you look back at it.
Here, I feel like in Nashville, and especially just because I was in a different sort of environment, it was like, who are you? How can you help me? Who do you know? And how can you help me? And in Boise, it's just, how are you? Who are you? And I think moving here and like meeting genuine friends in really weird, cool ways, and just having like genuine connections and like a real community. Like people in Boise care. We actually 100% want to have a community.
That's what seems that everyone that has moved here, that's exactly how it happens. They visit a little bit and then they're like, just move here. But I feel like what's crazy, at least for my experience, is when someone's like, but why? I'm like, I'm not quite sure I have the answer to that. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
It just feels like you're connected. And maybe it is the nature. Like maybe it's people that feel like really connected with nature that come here and they just feel different. But I'm like, I don't know what the why is, but it's unexplainable. You have to come and experience it yourself to know.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Okay. When you think about the impact you're making, big or small, what do you hope that it feels like to others?
I don't care if it's big or small. I think I don't have control over that. I have no idea in some ways how I've impacted people's lives. I hope that people just can walk away after being around me or experiencing my life or whatever and just feel seen, loved, and appreciated. I think love is really the ultimate connector. The one thing that is permanent. Love is not impermanent. It's the only thing I think I can think of that is infinite.
Okay, last question of the core questions. We'll have 3 little surprises and then we'll do 2 little special segment staples that are kind of fun. So, what's one challenge or crossroads that you faced that ended up shaping you in an unexpected way?
I think, there's a challenge of being an indie author and choosing to put your work out there and consistently having to show up for yourself. And I think that kind of feeds into the biggest life challenge I've experienced is my life partner dying at 31. Nobody plans for that. I never once thought, we were living the American dream, and he was the healthiest person I ever knew. And I'll always be going through that. That's not something that just you forget. And I think that challenge of just having to show up for myself and really just approach life authentically and honestly and really realizing what are your values and beliefs and are you doing right by yourself? Because at the end of the day, you are by yourself. I value my life enough to continue being here and to live it and not just coast through it.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, what is something that you wish more people understood about you or the work that you do?
Like I said, I'm an indie author, which means that I self-publish my work. I have a publishing deal with an audiobook company, but mostly I am an indie author, and that's something I'm proud of. I think that a lot of people think when you have a book out and you've put it out that it's not good because nobody validated that. And I think something I think about a lot is I was telling someone recently that I was a romance author, and their first question was, who discovered you? And
what an odd question.
I was thinking about that because that made me feel insecure for a minute, because immediately it's like, oh, I can't validate myself. I need to tell you something cool and important for me to seem serious. And that's just my insecurities. But I was thinking about that, my readers discovered me. And so I think just there's still a stigma with indie publishing and indie authors in general that we just put out really bad stuff and we're not serious and you should take us seriously. And it's like, well, my book is in libraries, my book is online, my book is in bookstores. I am just as valid as any other author.
100%. Wow. If you could wave a magic wand and gift our community one thing, what would it be?
Free parking. I'm really paying for parking.
That's insane.
Yeah. But I think more seriously, if I could give this community anything, I just want everybody here to feel really loved and supported. And I think that being in Idaho, there's quite a bit of decisiveness that's going on. And I think that I hate that, and I hope that anyone in Boise feels like they belong here.
Is there a hidden talent or guilty pleasure about you that might surprise people?
Here's a guilty pleasure. I really like watching videos where a woman goes into Dollar Tree and Dollar General and she organizes the shelves. She's Southern ASMR, so she has a little bit of a Southern accent too, which just brings me right back home. And so there's quite a few videos online, and I watch those sometimes when I just need to completely chill out. And one thing I love about it so much is she'll say, people always ask me, do people care you're doing this? And she's like, nobody cares at all. It's totally fine. And I think that that's something I want to embrace.
Okay, now into our 2 staples for every episode. So we're going to start with the name game. So we have some street names in Boise.
Oh, no.
And we know that it is a hot topic about how people pronounce street names. Maybe we go talk to the mayor today and get confirmation, because I don't know who is right on some of these, because I'm just as lost as you.
No hate mail.
Please do not leave hate comments. We're here for love and light.
I do love Boise.
This is the first one. How do you say this?
Kuna?
That's how I say it.
I want to say Kuna.
Kuna! We need people from Idaho their entire lives to please confirm what these are. This is the next one.
I know this is short for China Garden. Well,
No, I didn't know. This is a cool fact.
I think this is true. Well, if I'm wrong, my God, be nice to me. I swear I'm fragile. I say Chinden, but I think it's Chinden.
Why is it called China Garden?
Now, there is a news article out there, I'm pretty sure by Boise Dev,
Okay.
that talks about this.
If you knew about that, leave a comment down below. Okay, this is the next one. This is... I know this Nashville twang is going to come out. Let's hear that Tennessee in it.
I literally...
I say good night.
I don't know. My maps tells me that, and I don't know what she said.
Oh.
But I don't think I'm even doing the maps for this. I think that might be it.
This is the next one. I don't know where this is.
Residue? Oh, God. I don't know.
That sounds right. I've heard residue and residue.
Residue.
I think... I don't know what it... I'm going to start saying residue. Okay, last one.
I want to say Lata. No. Lata?
I don't know. Now nothing sounds right in my head.
Now I've said it.
It's definitely not Lata.
No.
I think it's Lata.
Lata?
With the emphasis on the T.
I don't know.
But we do need to know people to please confirm these. Okay. The last part of our 2 segment staples is we had our last guest leave a question for you. So I'm going to ask you their question. And then you're going to leave a question for the next guest, not knowing who it is.
Okay.
What do you love and hate about church?
There is a lot to say about churches that can give you a really great sense of community. I think it's probably a really easy way to make friends if that's in alignment with your values. And unfortunately, in the flip side of that, sometimes it can be such an insular community that it feels like people might be left out. That kind of feelings and those decisions and those personal values and those personal beliefs then affect communities and cities and states, and that can be a real challenge. And I don't like how divisive sometimes it can be.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. You want to write down your question for the next guest. We will not tell you what it is, so you have to watch the next episode to see what it is. And I know it's going to be a juicy, good question. And that's all we have for today. So thank you for coming today.
Yeah,
and sharing all of the things and being vulnerable and sharing your heart. Do you want to tell people where they can find your book, or do you want us to put your information in the description box to follow you and stuff?
Sure. Yeah, you can find my books pretty much anywhere. My audiobook is available wherever you can find audiobooks. Otherwise, my books are available in many bookstores, libraries, Amazon, and then you can find me at amandagambill.com.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Paige McKinney with Locals Who Lead, and we will see you next time. Bye.